Okay, this video is about the pump's pressure switch and the expansion tank. Just to give you a little insight on what's going on here every time you turn on the water. When you turn on the water, the pressure switch knows when to turn on the pump because it's set to 40 pounds PSI will turn it on and 60 pounds PSI will turn it off. So when there's a demand for water, it turns on the pump, and then what it does is the water comes into the expansion tank, and there's a big balloon in here, a bladder they might call it, that will push out of the way once the the water level starts rising in the tank. And once the pressure gets to 60 psi, and you'll see that happening with your pressure gauge here. Once it gets to 60 psi, the demand for water turns the pump off. And the whole purpose of the pressure tank is we don't want the pump going on every time we turn on a faucet or take a shower. We would like to have some type of reserve. So this 32-gallon tank allows us to have a reserve, and the bladder, which is pressurized, will push the water out of the spigots or shower head or whatever and create that water pressure. And the only maintenance you really need to do on the pressure tank is, with the system empty like it is right now, your water's all off and drained, you're at 0 psi, you would remove that little cap there, and you're going to see a valve that's identical to a tire valve on a car. And then you would take a nice accurate digital pressure gauge, not the kind with a stick used on the cars in the old day, and you would make sure that this pressure gauge is set to, hold on, we got notes for you over here. You can see where it's saying, hey, fill this to 38 pounds, a tank pre-charge when empty. So, we got notes all over the place. So you take your pressure gauge and just a little bit at a time, check it before you start. You might be at 35 or 33. And just barely press your air valve on there. If you have a compressor, you got to be really careful. If you got a hand pump, it's going to be more of a pain in the butt. So get yourself a little cheap pancake compressor at Harbor Freight, and just touch it to it for a second or two, and then take another pressure reading. If you've got too much pressure, just let a little out until you get to 38 psi, and then put your cap back on, and you are good to go for the whole year. That's something you only have to do once a year. And if you ignore it, what's going to happen is just like a tire, it's naturally going to lose pressure through the rubber, and your pump will cycle too much because your bladder's not going to be putting as much pressure on the water. So that's your pressure tank. I guess we can talk about the hot tank a little bit, but there's not much here to really say. You've got two elements, and it's electric. It's a 40-gallon, and you can take these covers off. Obviously you want to shut off the power first, but you can take these covers off, and you can adjust. Let's say you say, well, geez, the water's a little too hot, I don't want the kids getting burned. You could take these off, and there are little dials that you can just turn each dial counterclockwise just a smidgen and see if your hot water is where you want it. You want to keep it hot enough where it will melt granular powder if you decide to use that in your dishwasher, but for the most part, it's up to you. Obviously, it's a little hotter. You're going to get a few more showers. If somebody likes to, spend too much time in the shower, well, if you have it too cold, you just will run out of hot water that much quicker. So anyways, that's the hot tank, and that's the pressure switch and the pressure tank. You'll notice I got the pressure switch marked. It's a 40-60 switch, and a lot of times these guys carry 30-50s. So if you ever have a pressure switch go bad and you have to call somebody to repair it, you want to make sure they put on a 40-60, because that's the way your system is tuned to be. So a 3050 just won't do, you know, because then you're going to have to change the precharge on your tank to 28 pounds instead of, you know, 38 pounds. So you want to make sure that 4060 switch is the replacement, and then you'll get optimum pressure upstairs. That's it for the water system. See you next video.